Hey, what's up, guys? So I decided to play Branded Dracotail for YCS Anaheim for the main event. I think the deck is really good. I didn't do as well as I wanted to, but I figured I still showcase the deck profile and the theory and the thought process that went behind it, just for anyone who's interested in trying to learn the behind the scenes of how I arrived at my deck choice, why I played what I played, and the cards that I decided to main deck, especially for my non-engine choices, which I thought were a little bit unique. Before I start, huge shouts to Supreme Pro, my team. You can use Pack 10 for 10% off the entire website. We're going to be releasing an insane deck box October 24th, which is going to be this beautiful deck box here. You can see right here, Supreme Pro, and you can easily fit your main deck, side deck, and extra deck with a lot of room extra. So definitely expect that on October 24th. Additionally, sleeves, guys, will be coming back. That's definitely going to be coming back. These are like the brand new sleeves, as you can see here. This is one of the prototypes that we're using, and it's like an insane feel. Um, has a good slide, as you can see. And yeah, it's absolutely insane. I can't wait for you guys to try this out. They'll be officially live very soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. And of course, support your boy by using Pack 10. And then one more thing, also on tix1.com, we're gonna be dropping this new playmat very soon. You can see my girl over here with her blade out, especially since Kamal won the YCS with K9. You can see a nice little Zuna looking card right here. Very, very beautiful playmat. If you guys are interested in picking this up, be on the lookout for that soon. I think we're going to be dropping, I think, this Friday. So definitely book your calendars if you guys haven't already at around noon EST. So if you guys are interested in this beautiful playmat with Izuna on one side and Dormouse on the other, then definitely check this out. So but yeah, also huge shouts to Santoli, Julius, Jesse, Cotton. Those are the people who I theored with related to Dracotail the most. They really helped put the deck together. So big shout out to those guys. And then also, of course, shout out to like Inner Circle. If you guys are looking to get basically access to classroom behind the scene testing, my overall thoughts on the meta, how to approach like the YCS, and all that good stuff, then definitely go check that out, especially with YCS Pittsburgh coming out soon and then YCS Bologna coming out. If you guys are interested in trying to get better, improve, you can definitely consider joining the group in the description box below. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, why did I decide to play Dracotail? I think that's the first question that might be on your minds. I decided to play Dracotail because I figured that it was a consistent engine. That's the first thing I was looking for. I didn't want to break. The deck has about like I would say 14/15 starters. I think like which I'll go over. But it has like a 92-ish% to like always play, which I thought was like the number I was kind of looking for. Like you were basically playing most of your hands, which I thought was like really important. Never break the entire tournament. The other reason was because it has a lot of room for non-engine, and I thought that this deck also has Fimena as a hand trap, which is a in archetype hand trap that not a lot of other decks had access to, which gave you an edge against like the quote unquote FTK decks that I actually did expect at the YCS. I figured that a lot of people were gonna be playing basically auto win go first decks in response to Triff winning the YCS with a lot of breakers, right? Which is the natural development in the meta game. And so I figured that I wanted to be quote unquote ahead of the meta by playing a deck that kind of like countered what I think people were gonna play, which were gonna be a lot of like powerful go first decks, like the Rizio Ouroboros, Protoss lock, like the K9 Christian Molnir lock, the Fossa Dyna lock with Pure Mitsurugi. And I figured that this deck had a really good matchup into Pure Mitsurugi because all the Mitsurugi cards don't really interact at all with the Dracotail cards. Um, and then even into like the Mitsurugi Yummy matchup, because like they combine the two engine with like less potency, like they basically like use only half of the cards. Like for example, a lot of them don't play a Croaky. And then they only use half of like the Mitsurugi engine. I felt like I was able to outgrind those 60 card decks quite easily. So I felt like this deck actually had a really good it was a really good meta call for the event. I just felt like I got really unfortunate like variants in my opinion against like Malice for example, and like where I main deck Meows, but I just didn't draw any of. I didn't draw it. And then like even into like I think I lost like Mitsu Fiendsmith as well, where I also went second, open zero hand traps and get the FTK comboed. Um, so yeah, I think like overall like my deck definitely is more reliant on like drawing the hand traps to have a chance, but I just didn't draw them, so it happens. That's part of Yu-Gi-Oh. I definitely don't regret my deck choice. If I were to play the YCS over, I would probably play the deck again. I might adjust some of the non-engine, but I would play the deck again, and we'll talk about that as I show the deck profile. But yeah, I just wanted to explain my thoughts on why I decided to play the deck, just so that you guys understand. It wasn't like I didn't just wake up and randomly decide to like queue this deck. But yeah, those are my overall thoughts. I tested the Mitsurugi matchup a lot, the Pyramid 2 matchup. Like I played like really good players like Christian Reina. I played against like Cam. Like I played like really good players that like knew what they were doing, and I felt like I had a really good matchup with Dracotail into those decks. So I felt like this deck was a really good call. And I played the deck previously, so I was very experienced with it. And yeah, so yeah, I thought it was a good pick. But yeah, so I think like yeah, I think we'll go into the deck profile and then I can talk about like the card choices. So first you have like three Lucius, pretty standard, three Mululu, one Frixel. You could make an argument to cut Frixel, but I had to play it because I played the branded package and I needed a life spellcaster for Sanctifier, which the Frixel is one. Shout out to Nelson, by the way, for getting me all these Euro Dracotail cards. Would not be possible without him. So he's my unofficial sponsor. He's actually the GOAT. And then, but yeah, so these Dracotail cards, yeah, these are like the best starters. Like I said, I think Lucius and then Mululu with any monster it plays. So these are like what I consider like all like 1.5 card starters. And then of course like the 3/5 mana, which is like a hand trap in the archetype, which I think is like almost the reason to play the deck. It just gave you a chance against all like the heavy combo decks, because Femena allows you to make it so that games that are not winnable, because other decks do not have access to this card, are suddenly winnable. And I figured that like going second because of this card, I can actually win matchups that were basically what I consider unwinnable. So that's like why I figured why this card is like really good. And then you play 2 Pen, 2 Urgula. I wish I could play 3 and 3, but I decided to play 2 and 2 just because of like just have coverage against more matchups. Like Urgula is good better in some matchups and Pan's better in some matchups, but I decided to play 2 and 2 just to have more coverage. Urgula Pan is definitely the better one. The main reason isn't even like the monster pop effect. It has to do with the level. So Pan being a level 7 dragon monster makes it so that you're able to make Feel Your Regis on your opponent's turn a lot more consistently with like Femena, which makes it so that your Femena is like a lot more powerful, because in reality you don't actually want to make Dracotail fusions. Like you do like going first in your combo and stuff, but when you want to interact with your opponent, you really want to be making like the other fusions like Mysterion, Feel Regis, those fusions like Secretarian, those type of fusions are the ones that are going to be winning you games. But yeah, I like Urgla's better in the mirror match. Even into like Pyramid Tsurugi, Urgla's better. So obviously, like that's why I wanted to play 2 and 2. That's like the only space I had. But in reality, I wish I could play 3 and 3, but I couldn't because I cut the extra cards to play Branded Fusion. Which I'll talk about why I decided to play that in a bit. But and then you play like the 3 Rahu, which is pretty standard, and then the 6 key, the 3 key 2, just consistency, right? So you have like these 6 that plays, and then you have these 6 that plays. So you have like 12 starters right here. And then like obviously Femena, but like let's assume we don't count Femena if it's not live. So you have like 6 starters basically, essentially. And then but I wanted to get to like 14 starters. So like Brand Fusion is what I decided to play to get to like the consistency that I wanted. It basically was like the only card that basically lets you get to combo by itself. And I figured and it also raises the ceiling of your board quite a lot. So I really like the Brand Fusion. And then, of course, I only played just one Albaz to make Brand Fusion work. Yeah, I mean, it's a very small package, and Albaz isn't even a brick, because if you do draw Albaz, I play a card called Kaos Star Source Dragon. This card is really good because it requires a Dark Dragon any dragon monster. So if you draw like Albaz plus Pan or Urgla going second with a Femena, you can use Femena, use the Albaz from your hand, which meets the requirements of Chaos, and use a Panda and Urglet to make this, and then this card can just pop your opponent's board, and yeah, and that's just like really broken because in the mirror match or against Pyramid Tsurugi, you just pop all their back row, and then like you can just play like it doesn't like the IP into SP doesn't do anything. Murkumo doesn't really do anything against your board, so yeah, this card is like really good. So even Albaz wasn't even a brick. I'd like definitely like it definitely is not amazing to draw, but even if you do draw it, something that you can do is you can use Secretarian to like you'd fuse with the Albaz from hand into like a Arthur line, and then you would use Secretarian to shuffle back the Albaz to the bottom of your deck. Bring back a spellcaster like a Frixo or something, and then you can play Brand Fusion and then use the Albaz from the deck that you put back off the Secretarian. So definitely like a goo line, I guess, if you're not familiar. But and then of course then we'll talk about like the 2 traps. I really wanted to play 3. I was the biggest proponent of 3 traps. If you guys watch Jordan Gallagher's deck profile from YCS Lil, I helped him with his deck. Like you can watch the deck profile yourself. Like even shouted me out in it, and I told him to play 3 Dracotail traps. I thought the 3 traps were really good because if you play a lot of hand traps, it makes it so that your board was really good, especially if you get fusion locked. But yeah, the issue with the 3rd trap was I wanted to play more non-engine, so I couldn't fit it. But I think these were the best, in my opinion, because against Horn and Flame, the way you want to use this is, although Sting is better against Pyramid Tsurugi, you're using Horn to bounce back your Lucius, your Lucius, your Mululu, your Frixel. You even put back Arthur line, so that you can put back cards back to your hand and gain resources. So even if they like Ame rip a card of your hand, it doesn't really matter because you'll just Horn it back to your hand. Horn in the main also is something I wanted to play because I figured a lot of people would know my deck list after like a couple rounds, just due to the nature of, I guess, people know who I am. So Horn is good because Horn makes it so that they can never summon their monsters in attack to respect Horn, which means I'm less likely to die as well. So that's like the other reason. So like they're gonna summon their monsters in defense to play around the Horn, but by doing so, it makes it so that they're less likely to kill me. So I figured that like if I main deck the Sting, I feel like they would summon all their stuff in attack and try to like figure a way to kill me, which is very scary because like Dracotail, if it can get to a turn 3, is very powerful. So I just wanted to focus on getting to turn 3. So I thought Horn was better to main than Sting, even though I think Sting is technically overall better into all the Mitsurugi players running around. I've used Horn a lot too to like make if I get Fuad, I end on Arthur line with like Horn set, and I can like Horn back my Arthur line, and then Fuad my opponent, which I thought was like pretty important as well. So yeah, I think Horn was really good. I definitely don't regret it. So, but that was pretty much it for like the engine. Yeah. So and then we'll talk now a little bit about the non-engine and why I think this deck was a good call in my opinion. So obviously you have like the 3/5 mana as like your non-engine because it's both an engine card but also like non-engine because it can like disrupt your opponent from like making the board. Then you have like 3 Furos, which I think we can all agree is the best hand trap right now in the meta because it makes it so that Mitsurugi Yummy can't really establish their full board. Like Mitsurugi Yummy has like a fundamental weakness in the Furos as well. Because they're playing an engine heavy deck, the Furos really checks that. So that's why I think it's really good. And of course, in the Dracotail deck, a lot of players are saying, "Oh, what if I just keep going? Because what can they draw into?" Well, the thing is with Dracotail, like they can never really establish a good enough board without giving you a lot of draws. And if you can draw into 5 mana, the game pretty much ends because you have so many cards in your hand, and 5 mana plus a lot of card resources is just broken. Fula also made it so you see 5 mana more consistently, so I think that's why it's really good. And now for the spice, main deck Meows. So shout out to Santoli for this. But I think main deck Meows was a really good idea. The main reason is because into Mitsurugi Yummy, if you think about the combos, Meows is very good into it, right? So like, what do I mean? So if they start like, let's say the Mitsurugi line and they want to bridge into Yummy, they have to give you a lot of draws because let's say they go Habakiri, Habakiri, Saji, Ritual Spell, Summon, Habakiri. They'll tribute like a Amino from the deck. They'll search a ritual. They'll search a what do you call it? They'll search like a mirror. Then they play mirror, and there you can chain the meows, and then you'll get one draw. They summon the Amino by triggering the Haba, and they have to go Habakiri effect. Now, if they summon Habakiri back and then search prayers, they have to give you two draws. And then if they overlay for Vampire, right, and then use Vampire effect, they have to give you three draws. So it's a lot of draws under like the Mitsurugi line to bridge into Yummy. And now if they start Yummy and they want to bridge into Mitsurugi, it's also a lot of draws. Why? Because they have to use cards like Metal Marcher. They have to use cards like the Yummy monster that Reborns too. So they have to use like a lot of like they have to use ways to reborn like Mignon. Like they don't play a Croaky, they all play Mignon. So like they have to use the Mignon to bring back a dude. Like you're getting a lot of draws. So I thought this card was like exceptional into like the Mitsurugi Yummy matchup. And then which I expected a lot of because of Trip's success. And then it's also really broken into Pure Mitsurugi because against Pure Mitsurugi, this was a card that made it so that if they wanted to if like think about the Pure Mitsurugi deck, right? They go Haba Saji, activate ritual from hand, they summon Haba, but then they tribute a Serpent from the deck. So the Serpent will always make it so that the Meows gives you at least one draw. And if they want to like gain like then like because they're playing Pure Mitsurugi, they use cards like Mirror, they have to give you another draw off the Meows. So like you're getting a lot of draws, and it's really important because if you can make your hand size big, the Femena and the Dracotail cards are all basically board breakers. Like Key 2, Branded Fusion, Rahu are all board breakers because of cards like Urgula and Pan. Also, and then we'll talk about the extra deck afterwards, how they're being used as board breakers. But yeah, so I figured, yeah, so that's why Meows I thought was really good. I only decided to play 2 because I think 5 Charmies was enough because I wanted to fit in Mag as my last, as like the third Meows because I figured Mag is just broken because of all the Mitsurugi running around. And if you can loop Mag, it's just like really broken. Mag also lets you do a really nice play where if you open like, let's say Femena, Mag, and a, let's say like Mululu. Not even Mululu, like maybe like an Urgula. Like you can go Mag, banish one of your opponent's monsters, Mag effect the search. Then you can go Femena, use Urgula and the Mag to summon Chaos. And this is why Chaos Dragon is so important because you can go Chaos effect because you use a dark monster for this. You can pop one of your opponent's cards, and then the Urgula or Pan, depending on which one you have, or Mululu can then pop either a monster or a back row non-targeting, and then set you advantage. And then the Mag will then resolve an end phase to search you a Mululu or like whatever starter you need to crack the rest of the board. So, yeah, Mag was I think just too good not to play, in my opinion. So that's why. But yeah, so going to like the non-engine lineup, right? So yeah, it's like so you have like 3 Femena, which because you play a lot of names, like more Urgula, more Pans, I think it should almost always be live. Then you have obviously like these 5 Charmies, and you have like the Magnamut. So you pretty much have like I would say 9 non-engine here, and then you have 3 Ash Blossom, right? For pretty much like all the decks. Then you have 3 Nibiru. Because basically the way this deck plays is that you just want to not die. And Nib was like exceptional because a lot of people cut Link Spider from the deck, which means when you nib them, they're at like there's certain choke points in the deck where you can nib them, and they won't be able to special summon like a Cupsy from their hand, for instance, because they don't have Link Spider. So and then Nib is also really good in general. Just make it so that you don't die. So it's one of the cards you can draw into off the traps to make you live. And a lot of people just don't respect this right now because it's not in the meta. Like, like the only deck that really plays is Dracotail. So because of that, like not a lot of people respect Nib. So I think it's like also like the best one to draw into off like your Molt Charmies if your opponent decides to push, right? Because sometimes they have a full engine hand, so they have to push into the Fua. But the issue is if your opponent is playing like an FTK deck like Crystron K9, you need Nib to pair with the Femena in order to make it so that they cannot Molnir lock you. Or if they're playing like, a Fawcett Dyna turbo deck, or if they're playing like, any sort of like FTK combo, the Nib pair with Fimena off like the Molt Charmy draws makes it so they cannot accomplish what they're trying to do. So that's why I thought this deck was good meta call, because right here it's already like basically 15 hand traps in my opinion. 5 of them being draw hand traps, which I think are just crazy. And then I decided to play 3 Super Poly to respect people deciding to continue playing Pure Yummy. Um, because Super Poly just makes it so that you have like against Pure Yummy, you summon Mud Dragon, and then they cannot interact with you at all, and you just auto win the matchup pretty much. And even into like Pure Mitsurugi, if you like fool them, they end on like IP plus Amino. You can like Super Poly that as well, which I think is also really good. And then you can like Ash the Prayers, and then they just end on 0. So yeah, I thought Super Poly was like really really good. I think going forward, I'm probably gonna cut Super Poly for more hand traps to combat like the rise in people playing a bunch of FTK decks. But yeah, I decided not to main deck the Bell because I didn't think Bell would be as impactful as Meows. That's what the slot was. I feel like if I can only draw one hand trap, I'd rather have it be Meows because it gives me chances to draw more cards to crack any board essentially. So, and I figured it was good into pretty much everything. Even to like Crystron K9, you get a lot of draws off Meows. Like they summon Sulfoneer from the graveyard. They summon that from the graveyard. They use Lantern to summon back from the graveyard. They just have a bunch of ways that they're gonna trigger Meows to give you a bunch of draws. So yeah, and then yeah, Super Poly, like I said, was just good, and it was also a really good card to have set, because your opponent never really respects it, so you can just use it and then clear 2 monsters, and it's a way to help you survive as well. So yeah, 18 pretty much non-engine, I would say. 40 card deck, which I think was pretty good. They could have been hand traps as like the 3 Super Poly could have been hand traps as well. Like Bell or I think, or even Izuna, which is what I'm thinking about doing going forward. But yeah, I think that was pretty good. Now for the side deck, I side deck the 3rd Meows as part of my pattern because I do side out some engine going 2nd. So because the reason why I also built the deck the way I did was because of Barrier, right? D-Barrier is a very big card in the format, but I got barriered 3 times in 3 game 3s, and I won 2 out of 3 of those games I got barriered, and I almost won, and the only game I lost was the Malice game, which I still almost would have won if my opponent didn't top deck Underground. I mean, it was very close. It was a really good game, but I was actually out grinding through Barrier because what the Molt Army does is in this deck specifically is that it gives you card advantage. So even if you do get barriered, you can just hold your Fimena. Like you would use a spell to bait the barrier and then hold Fimena on their turn 3, I guess. Well, it'll be, yeah, they go first, or turn 1, turn 2. Yeah, so it'll be on the turn 3. Like you can still like Fimena and still get to a push. So I think like the idea is that like the way you beat barrier is to generate a bunch of draws on your opponent's turn, so you can either Fimena them on their turn so that it mitigates the impact of barrier, or you get enough card advantage to where even if they bury you, you're still in a fine position because you have so much cards, right? Like even Mululu, like okay, normal summon Mululu, they bury you, okay, sure, that your opponent has a half board, because you're Molt Charming them, and then you just pass back and you play an actual grind game and you can outlast the barrier, was like the logic, because I knew barrier was gonna be people's side deck, and I knew that like I figured this deck would get hit the least by barrier because of Fimena specifically. Like Fimena, I think is like just the reason why I think the barrier would have less of an impact in my opinion. So I thought this was the best deck that didn't really lose to barrier as well, aside from like maybe playing Malice, like not lose to barrier. And then I side decked the 3 ghost spells, basically for like mirror matches, for Yummy, for Pure Mitsurugi, just more hand traps that I wanted to have in general, for all like the multiple matchups. And then I side deck, along the same theme, 3 Phantasme. Basically, like I said, I just want to draw as many cards as possible. Phantasme is also a level 7 dragon monster for Chaos, right? So it's also really broken, because like going 2nd into like a pure Yummy deck, you can like Phantasme them, start your turn with Kitu. You can Kitu, add Urgula or Pan, and then use Urgula or use it from your hand to fuse with the Phantasme on the board to summon Chaos, and boom, you just blow up your opponent's board pretty much. And then and then the last I said more hand traps. Like I said, the way you like mitigate the impact of floodgates is to side as many hand traps as possible to like beat that. Fortunately, did not draw many hand traps in my game 3s, but yeah, last was Valor. Valor I thought was really good, because shout out to Joey for getting me these. But Yeah, the effect Veilers I thought were really good because against like Pyramid Tsurugi, you want to like Veiler their Galen Granite so that they couldn't search Fossadina against you. Another thing that came up for me during the tournament was my opponent did get to Fossadina through like Furos, but I had Veiler and Fimena, so I Veiler the Fossadina, and then I just Fimena'd him for his whole entire board pretty much, and so I thought Veiler was really good as that. And it's another card paired to help you stop like the Mjolnir lock from K9 Crystron. Like I said, I was fully aware that what players were gonna do and how they're gonna combat the Triff engine pile, and yeah, I was like really I was trying to like counter the counter I would say, and so that's why like my side deck is built like this. And Veiler was also really good in the mirror. A lot of people don't think so, but Veiler in the mirror is really good because you cut your opponent from adding back a bunch of names, and then you can try to outgrind them. So that's why I thought Veiler was also really good in the mirror, and yeah, it's also good against like a bunch of rogue decks. Even to Malice, it was I sided this card in because they don't have Splash Mage anymore, so like effect negation is a lot stronger now. So yeah, overall this card was fantastic. Yeah, so I really liked it, and then I sided 3 Fenrirs for going first, 1 Cartesia, and then 1 Sting. So in order to replace the 5 Molcharmies from my main deck, I decided to side this package for going first. The Cartesia is really good because you can actually send it all when you have access to all of your engine. You can all your Dracotail engine. You can summon Sanctifier off Branded Fusion by using a Cartesia and an Albaz from your deck. And then what you would do is you would summon Arthaline, and then you would use Arthaline to add back the Cartesia from the graveyard back to your hand. And then because you control Albaz in the graveyard, you're able to special summon the Cartesia, which is obviously really broken. The Fenrir basically helps you deal with Retail C, so it was another out to Retail C. Cartesia also helps you sequence against Retail C as well. And then the other reason for Fenrirs was that going second, if I can stop my opponent with hand traps, Fenrir was also an out to Dimensional Fissure. So, like, you know, because the idea is I want to stop my opponent and gain as many draws as possible. So Fenrir is both a going first card and a going second card under Die-Fi to help me out Die-Fi. So how does it work? Well, essentially, if my opponent has, if you run this like theory in my head, is I would special summon a Fenrir. My opponent has Dimensional Fissure up, Die-Fi, with an Amino on the board. Now, if the thing is, because of Dimensional Fissure, they don't have a graveyard. Well, they don't have a monster graveyard. So if they want to like Murakumo the Fenrir, they have to go Prayers, Tribute Murakumo, right? And then, but the Murakumo will get banished, so they're unable to bring it back off of Prayers, which means that on a new chain, they have to leave the Murakumo in the banish and trigger Murakumo. So Murakumo activates on a new chain, and because your turn player, you would go Chainlink 1 Fenrir to target the Dimensional Fissure, and you'll be Chainlink to a Murakumo to nuke your Fenrir. But you accomplished what you wanted with the Fenrir, which is to deal with the Dimensional Fissure. So that's why I thought the Fenrir was a really good card for going first, but it was also exceptional going second into the Pyramid Tsurugi matchup because it's just really awkward. And then even in the mirror match, I sided Fenrir in because of the value game. Because it helps you out Secretarion. Because if your opponent like decides to like make Secretarion in response to you fusion summoning, the Fenrir deals with their Secretarion in a very effective way, and it gives you card advantage so that you're always ahead in the mirror match, pretty much. So thought the card was really good. I really liked it. And yeah, it also outs Retail C when you go first. Just a crazy card in general. So I really liked it. So yeah, the reason why I also had a lot of fair hand traps like Veiler and stuff was because when you have 3 traps going first, you just want to draw into like Veiler Nib or like, you know, combination hand traps, Fimena Nib, Fimena Veiler, so that your opponent just has a hard time killing you, so that you would almost always win. That's why I didn't side Barrier going first. I didn't side any go first cards because I felt that when I went first, I just won just playing my engine out. So I didn't need Floodgates, in my opinion. They're nice auto wins for sure, but I felt that like this deck was good enough to win without floods. Which is why I didn't side any Floodgates, but rather I sided more cards to increase my win rate of when I lost the dice roll, right? Which I think is more important. Like trying to win games when you have to go second, and a lot of decks in the format are omega broken. It's just, in my opinion, more important than trying to sack games and win going first with like a barrier or something. Which, like I said, I won 2 games even after getting buried game 3 in the mirror match. I got buried and I still won because of Fimena and like using my hand traps to stop them. And then also like even against was it against Pyramid Tsurugi, I won against Barrier as well because of Frenyer. Like, Frenyer and then Ghost Bell Meows. Those cards basically made it so I even though I got buried, I mean it's fine. Lucius, Lucius or Kitu are the best ways to play around it because like when I go Kitu, my opponent has to chain barrier. If not, I can like they run the threat of me fusion summoning. So like when they like bury me in response to Kitu, I'm like sure no problem. Search Lucius, normal summon Lucius, grab 5 mana. Have a friend near Lucius with 5 mana in hand. You know, pressure the board state a little bit, then pass, and then 5 mana on my opponent's turn is still like annoying for my opponent to deal with. I was like, sure you buried me, but it's like I still got my value off, and then I could just play on your turn. So yeah, so that's pretty much the side deck. Yeah, so I thought it was really good. I think like the only change I wouldn't make any change about the side. I thought the side was like probably the best part of my deck. I think like maybe main deck wise, I might consider switching Super Poly to like the side or something, and then maybe playing like something else because there's less Pure Yummy. But if Pure Yummy is more in the meta, then maybe I should main Super Poly. But Super Poly was really good for me. I won almost every single time I had it. Like one of the games I almost won through Barrier was because of Super Poly because I Super Poly my opponent. So my opponent goes Barrier. I chain Super Poly, use all his monsters, Bell his follow up, and then like I just pass, and then I was able to try to outgrind the barrier, but I still lost with like a top deck, but it was very close. Yeah. So, anyways, so that's pretty much it for the side. So yeah, 15 cards in the side, but yeah, you pretty much go upwards of like 23 plus hand traps post side. So I actually felt really good going second most of the time, but I just didn't really draw hand traps to be honest when in game threes in the matches I lost. Like I only drew one hand trap most of the time, which is, one of the downsides, but I figured with enough volume it shouldn't matter, but it happens. It's still Yu-Gi-Oh, it is what it is. But like I said, I have no regrets. For the extra deck, which is also going to be very interesting for you guys, I played 3 Arthur line, which is no surprise, so I don't really need to explain that. Only one Gulamel. I think that like this is like a vanilla most of the time. Your opponent should always have a way to chain block this, so it's very hard to get this card off. So I figured that just one Gulamel is enough. Then for the fusions that I think that you're going to be making the most, which is going to be Secretarion, Chaos, Philia Regis, and Mysterion. So these are going to be the 4 fusions you're going to be summoning off 5 mana the most. So Secretarion is mainly to like combo going first, and it's good in the mirror. It lets you establish a Frank's line to gain a lot of value, especially when you start Branded Fusion. You dump Frixel into the graveyard, and this card lets you bring back the Frixel and gain a lot of tempo with like Frixel summon back Lucius, add back Frixel Lucius effect on a new chain. Mysterion is for like the Pyramid Tsurugi matchup. I didn't really like this card, but I figured there'll be enough Pyramid Tsurugi running around that I wanted to play Mysterion in response to like the Futsu. Feely Regis, arguably the best fusion monster in the extra deck because it can banish cards on board or cards in graveyard, which makes it consider a better Mirror Jade. And then Kaus, which because this card helps you basically beat the mirror match because you can pop your opponent's back row without needing Urgula, which I think is really important. Which is maybe the reason why maybe I could have played 3 Pan 1 Urgula because Kaus basically makes it so you don't need to draw Urgula in order to pop back row in the mirror. And against Pyramid Tsurugi. So this card is crazy. And then the other thing, and then now for like the branded package, I played 1 Lubellion. I played 1 Albion. I played 1 Sanctifier, right, which is like pretty standard. And then I played 1 Titaniclad, and I did not play Mirror Jade. So I can explain. The thing that a lot of people, if you've been playing branded, you would realize that Lubellion and Albion don't just make Mirror Jade, guys. These cards can actually make anything. Now, why is that important? Well, I find myself realizing that I don't really summon Mirror Jade as much because my Lubellion and my Albion are going to be summoning Kaus and Philia Regis. Like, these are going to be the 2 cards that I actually use Branded Fusion to make in order to crack my opponent's board and threaten the board state. So I figured that Mirror Jade wasn't actually necessary, and in testing, Mirror Jade almost never came up. So I felt that like I didn't really need these cards. I didn't really need Mirror Jade, and I figured that Philia Regis and Kaus were just significantly better. So that's why I cut the Mirror Jade. And then I decided to play Titaniclad over the Mirror Jade because Clad allows you to send Pan to the graveyard off of Branded Fusion, which actually is really important, and it comes up a lot against like Pyramid Tsurugi, where like you make it so that they can't really Ame you because then it'll trigger the Pan, and then makes it so that you also have a Liger out in the deck, because if you fool them and then like you hand trap them, they might end on like a Liger, so you can use this to like threaten the one Liger, because you can hand trap them a bunch, but sometimes they end on just one Liger still. So if they give you a lot of draws, like Clad helps you out the Liger, and then you can like shuffle back the Titanium Clad and remake it again to out the Liger again the second, even if they put up two, because you'll have like hella card advantage if they keep going to the Fool rules. I mean, if you fool them and they keep going, that's why I think this deck is so good, because every other deck would just lose. But this deck can draw 5 mana when your opponent gives you a lot of draws off the mulch armies, and then 5 mana effect just cooks your opponent. Like when you 5 mana your opponent, use 10 cards of your hand. You'll know what I mean. And then the super poly targets I played were Mud Dragon, Garua, just the best ones. And then I played only one Link monster, which is SP. I didn't play the Hermetic Seal package. I don't think you need it. I found from testing that like it's actually better to not make Hermetic Seals and make SP when you can go for the non-fusion lock lines, because if you make Hermetic Seals, you get destroyed by Izuna. And I figured that like because it's a YCS 1500 players, you can't just assume your opponent doesn't have Izuna game one. Like you just can't make that assumption, right? So I almost find myself making SP so that it checks my opponent's Izuna if they try to Izuna me. And I think that was really important. You also really didn't need Haraxiel, because a lot of the best lines in the Dracotail deck are fusion lock lines where you lock yourself out of into fusion summoning only. So like I didn't really like keeping my Lucius on the board and not fusing with it in order to make seals, because I felt that if I fused with it, it was better into effect negation like Impermanence and Veiler, because it triggers an extra name to set more cards. So that's why I figured that the only link I would play is SP Little Knight, just because I think, in my opinion, that it was just a lot better to fuse as many cards as possible. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this in-depth deck profile and the card choices, why I did what I did, and maybe you got a few takeaways from it for your own events coming up. And if you guys like this, definitely let me know, and I try to be as detailed as possible. Or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you guys are interested in trying to improve your game, definitely don't forget to consider joining the inner circle. It's a no-brainer. You have to be playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! I would say that for sure, because it's gonna help you if you're already playing a lot. But because like I think Steven says it the best, if you're not really playing, then these type of stuff will not really help you. So yeah, anyways, like I said, be on the lookout for this mat coming out this Friday. Be on the lookout for the deck box as well, coming out October 24th. And then the new Supreme Pro sleeves are coming soon. Look at how amazing they feel. Look at the shuffle. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Peace.